Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you clicking on that video as always. And we are back with another weekly wears video where I go over every fragrance that I wore all 7 days last week. If that's content that you think you want to see more of it, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. But without further ado, let's jump right into the list, starting with Sunday. So I thought I'd do something a little different this week. What I did was I went all samples. Every day I wore a sample of a fragrance that I have. And I'm really excited because one of the best spots to get your samples from is indeed ScentSplit. That's where I got the majority of these. I got 5 of the fragrances that I wore last week from ScentSplit. I'll be sure to link ScentSplit down below. If you guys decide that you want to grab something from ScentSplit, I do receive a small commission from that if you guys decide to use my link, which I would truly appreciate. It's not a lot of money, but whatever I do get will go back into the channel. They're super easy to deal with. They pretty much have every fragrance that you want to try at different sizes and different prices. So really convenient, ship really fast, comes in a well-labeled sort of quality decant, and yeah, you can't really go wrong with ScentSplit. So on Sunday, I went with a fragrance that is super hyped, absolutely talked about within the community quite a bit, and it's not cheap. It is $300+. Scent I'm talking about is Tuxedo from YSL. Now, I don't have the bottle here, obviously, but the scent, let's talk about the scent. Really well balanced, masterfully blended, really difficult to pick out individual notes from this one. To my nose, it's greener than I had anticipated in that opening. It is a tiny bit spicy. It has this ambery feel to it. And then as it dries down, you get more of that amber and more of the vanilla. The vanilla is subtle as well. Everything about this fragrance is very subtle, but very deliberate and very well produced. It's refined as hell, and it really does have, to my nose, a designery feel, which was not expected because I guess this is part of like YSL's exclusive line. So they're more expensive. The quality of it is incredible. However, I wasn't that blown away by the fragrance itself. Although it is a nice fragrance, it's not something that I can see myself spending $300+ on, especially when we talk about the last fragrance that I'm going to talk about today. But yeah, it's a really nice scent, lasted quite a bit on my skin. Also not as dressed up as people make it out to be, as formal as people make it out to be. And with a name like Tuxedo, you would anticipate this to be the most formal scent you could wear. That's just not what I got from it. I can see this being worn casually as well. So very nice scent, wore it on Sunday. YSL's Tuxedo. On Monday, I went with a fragrance that is considered sort of entry-level niche from this particular house. I believe they are based in Istanbul, Turkey. So I can say that I've tried other things from the house. I actually don't own any bottles of anything. They do have another fragrance that I absolutely loved, but the scent I wore on Monday was Nishane's Fan Your Flames. It's a boozy coconut with a very unique tonka bean that I haven't really quite smelled anything like this prior. It's tonka, but it just has something unique about it. The Armani Code to me smells like a bachelor's weekend. And if Tuxedo is sort of the refined, well-dressed man, the Nishane's Fan Your Flames is the party animal, sort of bachelor, young professional type. The opening of this is potent. It's not refined. It's not reined in. It's just in your face and can be overwhelming, I think, for some people. So I wasn't crazy about the opening. However, I think the opening being sort of built as it is why I enjoy the dry down so much. The dry down is more interesting to me than that opening, and it gets better as this is worn. To me, the dry down is intoxicating. It is intriguing. It's also addictive. So I find myself going back to it and smelling it quite often. I think the combination of notes in here with the coconut and the rum, you would expect some sweetness from this, but I don't get much sweetness at all. As a matter of fact, it comes across very dry and almost bitter at times. So definitely unique fragrance, not something for everyone. I would definitely recommend grabbing a decant from ScentSplit and trying it. And it is one of the more talked about Nishane's and among others, but this one is definitely more talked about, and that coconut note was intriguing to me. I enjoy that coconut note in other fragrances, and I do like how it's used here. So overall, really happy with the scent. Lasted eternity on my skin, and just great performance. Wore it on Monday, Nichane's Fan Your Flames. So on Tuesday, I went with another fragrance. Again, super hyped, super hyped. Gets talked about all the time by basically every fragrance YouTuber there is. So I was excited to get a full day's wear from this one. Scent I am talking about is Roche's Elysium. So this scent is as hyped, in my opinion, as Aventus, at least within the community. Maybe the average person hasn't heard of it, where most people have heard of Aventus, but once you're sort of into this hobby, you've heard of this fragrance. It's tough to live up to the hype for any fragrance to cost what this costs and to live up to the hype. But with that being said, for me, this was a fantastic fragrance. This has a sweet grapefruit opening, very sweet, but also photorealistic at the same time. And somehow you don't typically associate grapefruit as being this sweet, juicy fruit. It's can be bitter. It's sort of rindy at times. But for me, this was like, okay, if a grapefruit was going to have a ton of sugar and smell sweet, this is what it's going to smell like. That blended with some fantastic musks, high quality ingredients being used here. So you can rest assured that if you're spending this amount of money, you're going to get a fragrance that is at least using the highest quality of materials. And I get that sense that they did not spare any expense when it comes to materials. I also get a lot of green, earthy, almost grassy elements to this from the vetiver, probably the cypriol oil in here. And cypriol oil, I'm not a massive fan of, but I love the way it's used here. It's used beautifully. It's perfect. And it just works. I can see this working year round, becoming someone's signature scent, also casual, and I think would work best in the summer months, in the warm months. I think this will be a stunner in the warmer months, especially evenings out, because when you're trying to find something fresh, but also carries this sort of presence to it and this cachet to it, this would work fantastically as a night fragrance in place of something like an Aventus. I don't think they smell alike. I know some people compare them in terms of the smell. I mean, they're night and day to me. They're not even close to one another, but I can see why the comparison would be drawn in that how they can be worn, where they can be worn, and those types of things. The dry down is awesome. I love the dry down. Really unique, changes a lot from the opening of this, and just super likable. And also, I would say this lasted quite a long time on my skin. So although I know some people complain about the performance of this, which I can understand, you're spending all this money, you want something to perform, but I was happy with the performance and it just seemed to work. So I don't have a full bottle of this. I would love a full bottle of this. I just don't know if I can spend that much money right now around Christmas time. But of the fragrances that I wore this week, to me, this is definitely full bottle worthy. Wore it on Tuesday, Roche's Elysium. So on Wednesday, I went with a fragrance that I've tried other fragrances from this house prior. This is the first time wearing this one, and I liked it quite a bit. The scent I am talking about is Mooseilluminae from Rogue Perfumery. If you guys don't know about Rogue Perfumery, the idea behind the house is that, so the creator of the house, the founder of the house actually used to be a chef, and he started this perfume company, and they use materials that I guess are typically banned from IFRA, the company that sort of oversees what ingredients are put into perfumes. Now, whether that's true or not, I can't be certain, but when I say banned, obviously, I would imagine they're making things safe for people to wear, but it's just certain ingredients that used to be used in perfumery, now they don't use them, like oak moss, for example, is something that is, you can't use real oak moss, real musks, that type of thing. So I don't know 100% about that, but it is something that you might want to look into. However, the fragrance, now let's talk about the fragrance. Super green, super 80s vibe, powerhouse, masculine, has a super realistic sort of green, earthy moss to it with this smoky olibanum. Everything is just, it's almost a punch in the face of notes. For me, it's like if you took like an 80s powerhouse fragrance and you threw it into a frying pan and you sort of just reduced it down into this concentrated juice. That's what I get from this. It's super concentrated and smelled for days on my clothes. I mean, I wore this, as I was throwing laundry in from like 2 or 3 days prior after wearing this, it just, I could still smell it on my clothes. It's like if there was a bonfire of Irish Spring soap the night before. That's how stuck it was to my clothes. So performance is not an issue with these fragrances. They last a long time, and I was quite pleased with this fragrance. Wore it on Wednesday, Mooseilluminae from Rogue Perfumery. So on Thursday, I went with a fragrance from the house of Xerjoff. The scent was Golden Dollar. In my opinion, a really underrated Xerjoff. And Xerjoff does a really good job of the fragrances that I've tried of sort of blending that sort of warm, spicy, ambery accord with something clean. Very happy with this fragrance. And again, super underrated. To me already, I can tell you this is full bottle worthy to me. It's spicy, it's a bit nutty, it's ambery, it's awesome. This would be fantastic for, to me, like a winter holiday party or like an ugly sweater party or something like that. So it can be worn casually like that. And I also think this could be worn a bit dressed up. If you're wearing a suit, maybe to a winter wedding or something, this scent would work great. Great performance from it. And again, I'm going to be looking into full bottles because I really enjoy this one. Golden Dollar from Xerjoff. On Friday, I was really happy to try this one. Finally, this is obviously a fragrance that is iconic from, I want to say, the early 2000s when this came out. I don't think it was the late 90s. I want to say early 2000s when the EDT came out, and it was just a smash hit. Won like scent of the year it came out. I want to say it was 2006 if I remember correctly. But the scent I am talking about today is Armani Code Parfum. This is a true parfum version of the OG, the EDT. It's not as transparent as the EDT. It's not as fresh or airy as the EDT. It's a more concentrated version of the EDT, which is a good thing. I know the brand highlights iris as sort of being the basis of this fragrance. I don't get I get very little iris from this, if any. But what it does remind me of, funny enough, is a iris type fragrance to my nose, which is Jean Paul Gaultier's La Malle Les Parfums. That has way more iris, so it reminds me of that one without the iris in it, and this is sweeter. And it's not as well-rounded as the JPG is. It's not as good as the JPG is, in my opinion. However, what I do like about this one is that its presence on my skin, how long it lasts, how I get wafts of it as the day goes on. I was really impressed with the performance of this one. So if you guys have not tried the parfum version of Armani Code, you definitely want to check it out because there's a lot of options. However, I think this one might be the go-to if you're going for that Armani Code DNA. I would probably pick up Armani Code Parfum. So as I said, much like the first fragrance that I talked about in this video, that is way more expensive, way more hyped than this fragrance. However, this one does have a bit of a following, I guess, from the cheapy side. But this is almost a dead ringer for that first fragrance I talked about that is $300+ a bottle. But they are damn close, and this is far cheaper. The scent I am talking about is Ferocious Mustache EDP. Now try to go back a few minutes to when I was talking about Tuxedo. Everything I said about Tuxedo at a much cheaper price. The main differences to my nose is that Tuxedo seems a little bit more of a better performer. It's a little bit more present on my skin. This is more fresh and spicy than the Tuxedo, which I like about it. And Tuxedo, again, has a much more sort of feeling of a designer fragrance than this does. So if Tuxedo is the designer, this would be the niche version. I truly believe that. It doesn't come across as designer to me. I really can't justify buying a bottle of Tuxedo while Ferocious Mustache Man is, the EDP version is available because they are that close. My wife likes the Ferocious more. She smelled them different times throughout the day. She just likes the Ferocious more. And typically she sort of figures out a way to sniff out the more expensive fragrance. And I will say, I mean, I think the Tuxedo is more refined. It's more well blended. Yeah, that would make sense, but it doesn't, not being as well blended as the Tuxedo does not inhibit the Ferocious. That is not even close. I mean, it's not a deal breaker. It shouldn't be for you. I would absolutely recommend, if Tuxedo is on your list of things to try, get a decant of both. Go to ScentSplit and grab one of each like I did and just try them. I can't justify paying for the Tuxedo. I just can't. I now want a bottle of Ferocious Mustache EDP. Wore it on Saturday. Really liked it, enjoyed it. That's all I have today, guys. As always, let me know in the comment section down below what your weekly rotation was. I love to know what you guys are wearing. If you like what you saw today, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this video, hit that bell notification so you're updated whenever I upload new content. But until then, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next video.